Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh, Shem Al Shai, by Shem Kakodash, Shalom to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect out there, Shalom to all. Anyway, I'll see where the Spirit takes me. I'm gonna title this video, "We Are Not Ignorant to Satan's Devices," and a few other topics. Anyway, I'm watching TV with the LA fires. Anyway, you see, this is MSNBC conspiracy theories about the California wildfires spread online. Rolling Stone, the LA fires have started a misinformation storm. I watched up until this point, almost half of it, and I watched the rest. Once I get finished, I'll watch the rest of it. I'm watching, I got it on Alex Jones on Roku, and what they're showing is people walking around in LA with gas. That's all I got to say. Now, the first precept that I went to was 2 Corinthians. Either it's 2:11 or 11:2. I always get them mixed up. 2 Corinthians, let's try 11 verse 2. Okay. I'm sorry, it's 2 verse 11. 2 Corinthians 2 verse 11. Lest Satan should get image of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So what did it mean by Satan? The word is Satanas.
Strong's G 4567. Satanas. Satanas. Thayer's Lexicon. Satan. Satan.
One who opposes another in purpose or act. That means you have a next door neighbor, you become enemies, that person is Satan to you, right? If you want to go deep in spiritual, the prince of evil, you have the super elite, which can be called Satan or Lucifer. So now let's come back over here. Now I want to go to the NLT. So that Satan or the adversary, your enemy, whether it be the spiritual enemy, the elite, your next door neighbor, will not outsmart us, for we are familiar with his evil schemes. There was another precept in mine. Psalms 64, another precept that came to mind. I'll start from the 5th verse. You can read the whole chapter. It's a short chapter, 10 verses. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares or traps privately. They say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them, and the heart is deep. We're talking about the super elite. They don't think, they're bohemians. They don't think the way the average person thinks. They have the they have the mindset of a diabolical person. They think evil, but the Most High shall shoot at them with an arrow, and that's talking about being exposed. Suddenly shall they be wounded. We're going to find out who the culprit is. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. So they shall make their own tongue fall upon themselves. You had this a video, not video, but it was a cassette, and I got it from Yaikwab. It's a cassette, Elder Yaikwab. This guy named John Todd, and he was one of the first people to, he said, I'm a part of it, and I came out of it, so I'm telling you all about it. And they said they supposedly killed him for spilling the beans. It says, and all men shall fear and shall declare the work of the Most High. That's the elect coming back to the realization of the Israelite, for they shall wisely consider of his doing. The righteous shall be glad in Yahweh and shall trust in him, and all the upright in heart shall glory. Let me go to NLT. We can start from the 6th verse. The 5th verse. They encourage each other to do evil and plan how to set their traps in secret. Who will ever notice? They ask. So people, they're traps. We're looking for traps now. We're looking for their schemes, their agenda. As they plot their crimes, they say, we have devised the perfect plan. Well, if you get caught, in your perfect plan, then it's not a perfect plan. Yes, see, years ago you can get away with this shit, but you got you got a lot. That's why there's a crusade to do away with the alternative media. They want you to look at the local news, the CNNs, the Fox Newses, the various news channels. This is the news that you should be watching, but you watch these were average citizens that didn't go to school for broadcasting, and they make their own, come up with their own stations and so forth, get press passes because you have a right to be a part of the press, in the First Amendment. You don't have to have a degree to write a newspaper. It says it's the freedom to express yourself, the freedom of speech, the freedom of the press. All right. The human heart and mind are cunning, but the Most High Himself will shoot them with His arrows, and that's to expose them, suddenly striking them down. Their own tongue will ruin them. Right. When you say you're crazy, you're making it up. I said, well, this guy claims he's part of your group years ago. And then he might pull out pictures showing you that he was at the Bohemian Grove or whatever. It says, and all who see them shall shake their heads in scorn. Then everyone will be afraid. They will proclaim the mighty acts of the Most High, that's the elect, and realize all the amazing things He does. So that's the great awakening. The godly, I'll say the godly, will rejoice in, or the righteous will rejoice in Yahweh and find shelter in Him. That's in Psalms 91. And those who do what is right will praise Him. Those that do the right thing, which are the elect, the elect waking up, they're going to do, those who do what is right will praise Him. So who's the ones that are doing the right thing? The elect, starting with the prophets, the apostles, the prophets, the teachers, and so forth, the evangelists. And when you praise somebody, you got to know his name. You talking about you're praising somebody. Oh, I forgot your name. You're giving tribute to somebody and you forgot your name. That's embarrassing to you. You got to know his name. Part of this truth, part of the doctrine is knowing his name. So let me see what else is happening out there. Okay, I don't want this. I wanted to see this. Some more madness. Until the fulfillment of the Gentiles be come in. Now I've been doing a couple of videos on entitled the Gentiles versus the Gentiles. So I guess Apostle Ramla is probably lambasting on maybe the idea of me doing the Gentile versus Gentiles. So let me click on and see what's happening. I don't know where I'm going to go with this.
And now he's reconciled back. Because at one time he was ignorant because of his parents, all the way back. But now the Lord is having mercy on him. And he's opening up, he's shining the flashlight of truth on him.
Let me go to the beginning.
Not
going to be long.
Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Until the Fullness of the Gentiles Be Come In. And pretty much this is a direct quote taken from Romans 11 chapter and the 25th verse. And you have these wacky-tacky Christians that have this stale-ass argument that they keep trying to push, that these Gentiles are talking about all nations outside of the nation of Israel. They go so far as even try to even dismiss the book of Romans, the 9th chapter, with this guy God logic. And then you have individuals like these apologists that try to dismiss Israel in general with this replacement theology, supersessionism. And that's the only way your doctrine will make sense, is if you get rid of the Israelites and add the other nations. That's the only way it'll work. Now this morning, well actually this lesson that I have here, right, I have some precepts that I put together sometime last week. And maybe a day or two ago I was going to go into this lesson, actually about, I think yesterday. And then the Spirit really wasn't fully on me. And I was like, let me see if the Spirit will give me something to go into with dealing with prophecy or something that's more, can't think of the word right now. But then I realized that Pastor Tara did 2 lessons on the Gentiles versus the Gentiles. And I was like, wow, that shows you that was a spirit that wanted this lesson to go out. So here we are. But before we get into it, I was on my walk this morning. It's cold as shit out there, but you got to get to it. Ain't nothing but to do. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. And I was listening to Elder Pastor's video that he was doing, and I don't know, for some reason, Captain Tazariak and the whole thing about these brothers debating came to mind. And I'm like, I was just meditating on that on my walk, and then pretty much that when these Israelites try to debate these Christians, which is a waste of time, they want to debate all different types of topics, different things, right? But really, you can't get past the the topic of who the Lord Yahushua came for, and why, you can't get past the what's written. You know, you can't get past the as I like to call it, the contract, which is, written in the Old Testament and everything that's in there. And if you can't get past that, there's no sense in debating anything else. If you can't get past the fact of what is written in the contract and who the message is to, what happened to the nation of Israel? How did they end up becoming, scattered, going into the, captivity under these different nations, worshiping the different idols and customs of these different nations, and why the Messiah had to come on the scene. Because if you talk about the reason why the Lord came on the scene, he came on the scene to shed his blood for the Israelites to be redeemed back to the Father. He didn't come to redeem the whole world. The whole world was not under contract, only the Israelites. So outside of that, there's no other argument. You want to argue of the Most High is God, of Yahushua, the Lord is the Most High, and all of that. You really, that's not an issue if you can't get past who the message is for. You want to debate it. So more power to those brothers. The Lord gave them that gift to debate. May the Lord increase them in that. But at the end of the day, it's just a waste of time. If you can't, deal with who the message was given to, then you cannot go outside of those parameters. It's akin, and I was always also thinking about this. I like it for the little rambling. I was also thinking about this. When you go to a court of law, right? You can't just go into the court of law and argue the final statements, without your opening statements, without presenting, your evidence, without the different testimonies from witnesses, and then you present your final argument. You can't go into a court of law and present your final arguments and tell the judge to dismiss, the charges, based off of this, when you haven't even argued the merits of the case. And
yeah, the nature of the action. You have jurisdiction through the nature of the action. When they have you before a court of law or judge, you might ask for the nature, meaning the first thing they have to establish is that they have jurisdiction over you. So the same thing with the scriptures. When you go from the Old Testament to the New Testament, all the books in between, from the Genesis to Revelation, the Apocrypha, and so forth, the question is, who are the chosen people of the Most High? The Israelites. That's all throughout the Old Testament. Now, when you go to the New Testament, it also mentions Israelites, but it mentions Gentiles. You got certain Christians saying, well, the Lord really just loved the Gentiles. He really don't love Israel. He acted like all this clownery. So as there's plenty of scriptures that point to the Israelites. So what these Christians do, they'll jump on the bandwagon, and God Elijah couldn't even get around Romans 9, because when the Captain Tazariak had read Romans 9, according to the adoption, the glory, the giving of the Lord, the service of the Most High, and the promises, who was our fathers, as of whom the Messiah came. And he said overall. He said, "Oh no, overall. That means everybody." He just read the subject. You're a man. You have five sisters, 5 brothers. You have a father. He give you the last will and testament. You were the only son that took care of him, that was there for him. The rest of your brothers and sisters didn't give a shit about the father, hated the father. So when it was time to read that will, he's going to say, my inheritance goes fully, 100% of my inheritance goes to John. He might say, although I love the rest of my sons and daughters, they get no inheritance. I still love them, but they get no inheritance. So they can't argue the fact that no, we supposed to get inheritance. He made it clear in his last will and testament. So it's the same thing with the scriptures. So when God logic popped up, when Captain Zariak read Romans 9, he read 4 and 5, and then he said overall, and he said that's talking about everybody. How all of a sudden, see, they ain't talking about all of Israel. He doesn't understand, and you can see that he was trying to be slick. He really didn't know how to answer that. This is why you don't have it's unless you're entertaining, unless you're doing it for views or whatever. It's going nowhere. It's a disaster. When you deal with a Christian, first of all, they don't understand the script. They don't understand the prophecies. They'll never agree to having a debate on all of the prophecies in the Bible. Let's have an ongoing debate. Let's have a series of 10 debates or 5 debates, 2 hours each or whatever the case may be. Let's have a debate on the prophecies of the scriptures. Guess what? They're going to lose. Well, first of all, they're not going to agree to it. They're not going to agree to it. So anyway, let me let it go. And like I said, I knew when I saw the title for this video, Until the Fullness of the Gentiles Be Come In, he was looking for a subject. See, we feed off of each other, you know?
And that's what these Christians are trying to do. They're trying to go to the end, the closing statements of a court, and they're trying to argue things that they don't understand, and they don't even know what's in the contract. You know, so I'll just meditate on that. So Salaki for the little rant. So what I want to start off with is in the book of 2 Maccabees 6. And this is why the Apocrypha is such an important part of the scriptures. And that's why it was even in, the scriptures, way back. When you had the earliest, translations of the Bible in English, you had the Apocrypha in there. And then eventually it was removed out. There was different points where they were, different individuals removed certain things out or removed the Apocrypha out. One of the key points was the Biblical Destruction Group in 1826. They removed it. Dr. Lorenzo Lucena, in 1862, I believe it was, he removed the Apocrypha out of the Cazadora Valera rendition of the Bible in Spanish. And that was his revision of the Bible. All right. And Lucena is like the feminine way of saying Lucifer. All right. So, but there were other instances, that Lord's will, if I get a chance, I'll go into it. I had some stuff I was going into. But Lord's will, I'll get to it if the Spirit allows. So, without the Apocrypha, the Apocrypha is a very important part of history that goes into what happened to the Israelites during the
one who come from this is talking about Israelites, read in the NLT. The word foreigner, right? It says one who comes from a foreign country, which is an Israelite, into a city or land to reside there by the side of the natives, the Israelites that were born there. That's what the whole law of the stranger is in the Old Testament. A stranger sojourner in a strange place. It's strange to them because they weren't born in Palestine. A foreigner in the New Testament, metaphorically, in reference to heaven as a native country, one who sojourns on earth. Right, because we're considered strangers on earth until we get to heaven, or the heaven comes to us. Actually, heaven's going to come to us. Give me a second. Let me open this back up.
Hellenization period of the Greeks. And this is very important to understand the New Testament of the Bible, because this is giving you an insight as to why these individuals were being called Gentiles. and why the Apostle Paul would make statements like there's no difference between the Jew or the Greek.
Yeah, because you have to go into the Apocrypha. You have to go into, sometimes you have to go into the Josephus. You got to go into the history. You got to understand why they were being called Gentiles. Greeks, Grecians, heathens, Gentiles, cast them out. That's either Matthew 18 or Matthew 16. Cast them out as a heathen man or a publican. Meaning look at him like he's of another nation, but he's not of another nation. This is not difficult. But like I said, none of these guys, you bring out the Apocrypha, the Apocrypha is not accepted text. But Yahushua followed the winter feast, which was the Hanukkah. So Yahushua knew and followed the Apocrypha. He didn't say, well, we don't got to follow that because that's not part of it. No, he never said that. He followed that. He honored that day. Then you got to consider the history of the Maccabees during the time of the Maccabees when they forced the Israelites. As a matter of fact, give me a second. Let me just get the Apocrypha out. Give me a second. Bear with me for a minute. And if you notice, none of these Christian apologists are mentioning anything about the end of the world. They don't know prophecy, so they don't. When the MOTB comes, they're not going to know what it's all about because they don't deal with prophecy. None of them deal with prophecy. If you corner them on prophecy, they'll make shit up. Like I said, they'll never argue prophecy because they don't know prophecy. You have vocab attempting to go into the prophecies, but he botches it up. He makes a fool out of himself, but he don't know that. The people that follow him, they're really just dumb. Anyway, let me bring this out. Okay, let me give you a couple of precepts. Okay, where am I? Bear with me for a minute. Okay, let's go to the main precept. I got a little list here. Okay, I got to open up. Bear with me for a minute. Okay, I don't need the commentary. As a matter of fact, you know what I'm gonna do? Let me do this. Since I'm in the commentary, let me do this. 1 Peter 1. They're catching a lot of people, and it's even on certain news channels, of people in LA with gas bottles setting fires. More than one, you know. People are being vigilant. Yeah, they said this is news also that they cut insurance or fire insurance a month before this thing happened, so everything's coming together. They might take this video down, but the people are waking up. They arrested the guy. Now what they got to do is question the guy and find out where he got. He didn't just wake up one day and let me just start setting fires. Oregon officials waste presses. Okay, anyway, I got Alex Jones on Roku. keep telling you, brothers, if you don't got Roku, you don't have to buy the TV for $250. You can get the basic Roku stick for $30, $32 with tax. I think it's $29 with tax. It's $32.50. So every brother, and it's not a requirement. You do what the hell you want to do, but if you get it, you'll say, "Damn, Pastor Hall was right." It's humanly impossible to go to all the channels, and you can put your own. Look, I got XM radio on the Roku as an app. I got Odyssey, YouTube, Rumble. I got what's this music? Pandora. I got Pandora. I put so a lot of apps are preloaded into the stick, but you can add apps to it. Anything that's an app, and it's humanly impossible to go through all them channels, because when you go to the last channel, they're gonna come up with another 1,000 channels, and then you got apps. Anytime there's an app, you can pull it up on your phone. You can pull it up on a Roku TV. So I got it on. I leave it on. Rumble. Most of the day it's on Alex Jones. So he's giving you a lot of truth. Giving you a lot of truth. He said the other day that I spoke with the black Hebrew Israelites. I said, no, you never spoke with us. You know about us. You never spoke to us, because we would have known about it. Okay. I'm sorry. Let me do this. Peter, an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach to the. Now you got Christians saying HaMashiach. They didn't say that. They say that because of us. And the scriptures say, well, these men have turned the world upside down. It said to the strangers. Now, someone even say, I'm not going to look it up, that John Calvin says these strangers right here are Israelites scattered through Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, which is Asia Minor. It's going north of Palestine. So who was up there? Israelites. Some of them knew that they were Israelites. Others didn't know that they were Israelites. So let's see what the Cambridge. Go to the Cambridge. It says, Peter, we note that the new name which his Lord had given him has replaced in his own mind, as in that of the others, that of Simon Bar Jonas. Bar is Aramaic for son of. They would say Bar, we would say Bun. So his name should be Bun Jonas, or however you say Jonas in the Hebrew. But by which he had once been known, so in like manner Paul takes the name of Saul and the letters of that apostle. Like him also, he describes himself as the apostle, the envoy of representative of the Messiah. As the Christians now say, the Hamashiach is Hamashiach, to the strangers scattered. Literally taking the word in their Greek order to the elect, I didn't know they were going to say this. So it's not just talking about strangers in general Israelites in a general sense. It's talking about the elect strangers, to the elect sojourners of the dispersion. Now, you got brothers saying that Romans chapter 11 is talking about the northern kingdom. It's not talking about the northern kingdom. Ultimately, it is. But 2,000 some odd years ago, when Paul and Peter and the various apostles were talking about the Gentiles in Romans 11, it was referring to the Israelites that in that region, Asia Minor, that region of land. That's what it meant by the wild olive, the olive leaf plant, whatever plant, wild plant, degenerate plant, the last words occurs in the New Testament in John 7:30, right there. Ooh, Which this is, it tells you that when he go among the Gentiles to teach the Gentiles. The Gentiles are the scattered Israelites. Now you can ultimately say that's talking about the Americas too, because there's documents that the Messiah had came to the Americas to talk to the Northern Kingdom. It says in James 1:1, right? James 1:1 goes with 1 Peter 1:1. Peter says strangers. James says Israelites was scattered abroad. They were scattered abroad even to the end of the earth. The part where the scattered abroad to the end of the earth, the Americas, is taking place now in our lifetime. And in the I didn't know they were gonna mention the Apocrypha. It says in the Apocrypha in 2 Maccabees 1:27. Let me see if I got that on my list. Actually, I don't. 2 Maccabees 1:27. Gather those together that are scattered from us, deliver them that serve among the heathens. Oh, that's beautiful. Look upon them that are despised, which are the Israelites, and abhorred, and let the heathen know that thou art our power. So they're going to go among the heathens and pluck out the Israelites, the elect, and then the heathens are going to see that they're being separated from the Israelites. So I got to put this on my list. Second Maccabees 1:27. 2 Maccabees 1:27. So I don't need to read no more. So they're telling you right there that they're, in not so many words, that they're the Israelites. So let me give you some precepts here. Let me go to where we at. Bookmark, book list. Where the hell? Okay, there we go. Okay. 2 Maccabees, what is that? All right, 2 Maccabees 6. I'll start with that. Mac 6. Bear with me for a minute. Okay, I'll start from the top. I'm not going to be long with this. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens, which he was an Israelite that was living in Athens. So when you go back, when you read Acts 17 in the scriptures, it speaks about how Paul encountered the Athens, and they'll say, see, those are white people. See, he was teaching white people. No, he was teaching Israelites that didn't know that they were Israelites, didn't know the name of the Most High, and they put up a placard to the God with no name or something to that. I'm paraphrasing. So they knew these philosophers, they like the black consciousness people, they knew that there was a power, but they didn't know his name because they lost the name through their foreparents and foreparents, grandparents, or go all the way back to the Maccabees, the time of the Maccabees. So they thoroughly, took from their mind anything that had to do with Israel. So Israel's always trying to find the answer to life, so to speak, to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of, to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of the Most High. Don't circumcise your children. Don't put fringes on, border blue. You can eat pork. You can eat other things. They had to learn the language. They had to go to the place of exercise. So they Hellenized them, completely Hellenized. So Cornelius, so you can understand that Cornelius is an Israelite. He had to be a product of the Hellenization during the time of the Maccabees. His parents. How many generations? That's not too many generations. We're talking maybe about 3-4 generations at top. So I guess it's great grandparents were caught up into that mess. And to pollute also the temple. Now, how did he pollute the temple? He put swine in there. Let me see if I can find that. I don't even know if it's in that verse. Swine. Let me modify that. Okay, it's in there good. It made my life easier. Let me see. First Maccabees 1 verse 47. Set up altars and groves. And the groves go to the churches. The church built from ground up. They have the ceiling is in an arcing fashion, and you have these beams that stick out. Those represent the groves, because Israel would secretly worship false gods out in the woods. It says, and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine flesh and unclean beasts. The church is heavy into eating pork and unclean things, catfish, and so forth, because that really goes back to the spirit of when their foreparents was back there in the Greeks. That's why you got to leave a Christian alone. Do not, if you see a Christian, don't shut up. There's a Christian. We don't want them to know that we're here. I don't want them Christians coming around me. Just keep it moving, man. It says 2 Maccabees 6:18. Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man, and of a. Now this is the precept that I'm already in. All right, further down. So you really got to read this whole chapter. 2 Maccabees 6:18. A lot of information, and of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine flesh, because now this is what I'm thinking about. Bishop Nate told these people were not to keep the laws. And to prove that we're not keeping the laws, you have to eat swine in front of us. That's what he said. That's what Bishop Nate told me. You don't believe me? Ask Bishop Nate. If he says I never said that, that means he was a liar. And you can say, well, see, he never said. Okay, good. That's what the nigga told me. All right? So he had a spirit. He's the black Antiochus Epiphanes, man. He's the black. He came in the spirit of Antiochus Epiphanes. And the other guys that were with him that no longer teach, whether they know that the Israelites have a website or whatever. I ran into one of them, which is Yasha. You don't even know him. Ran into him. He said he got a website, dealing with Israel. But he's not on the highways and the byways. He's not, you would have known him, right? Anyway, so we're at 2 Maccabees 7:1. It came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king Antiochus against the law to taste swine flesh, and were tormented with scourges and whips. So the new swine is going to be the microchip. It's going to be the microchip. And they're going to kill some of us. So you get in the mindset that you may be killed. Now it says in Revelation 20, by getting your head chopped off, right? It says, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine. Because they had swine, they had the pig in the temple. He defiled the temple. He's the first abomination that maketh desolate, meaning he defiled the temple by putting swine in there. During the time of 70 AD, it was Titus that when it says the abomination that maketh desolate. He's an abomination. Titus was an abomination that maketh desolate. Made what desolate? The temple. He went into the temple. He went into the inner court, right? Into the temple itself. And then he robbed the temple. Okay? So now let me do this. Since I'm here, let me go to 2nd Maccabees. Now, if you go into the history, Alexander didn't do that. He said, you can keep your religion, you don't got to pay taxes. I want to learn more about you people. But Antiochus said, no, you're going to have to become Hellenized. So now, let me do this. You know what, let me go to the view the chapter. So if they don't accept the Apocrypha, the Christians, as even a history book, because you have history. A lot of time you have Christian scholars will quote from Josephus. Josephus was a historian that documented 70 AD. Now a scholar can read from it. They make even a commentary references the Josephus, but the Josephus, they'll say it's not accepted text, it's just a history. So the Maccabees is history, right? It says, not long after this, the king sent an old man to Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of the Most High, and to pollute also the temple of Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter, which Jupiter of Olympus, which back then it was Zeus. Jupiter is the Greek equivalent to Zeus. And that in Garizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, and they did desire that dwelt in the place. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people, the Israelites, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling, getting high, getting drunk, eating, having sex, by the Gentiles, the other nations, who dallied with harlots. So they had women in there having sex in the temple. So they truly defied the temple. But they can make it. Oh, they can make it now because they're called in Hamashiach. That's why I said, don't engage with them Christians. Tell them, look, we don't have no debate. We don't have nothing to do with y'all. Okay? If you come around, we're going to call 911. We're not going to debate with you no more. We're not going to have nothing to do with y'all. None of y'all. Vocab, I don't care who it is. You know? BK apologists, Adam Coleman, none of y'all. None of y'all clowns. We're not dealing with you no more. And the bottom line is this. That's going to hurt you because nobody's going to follow that Christian garbage that you're teaching. Nobody follows that. So in order for you to get an audience, you got to go head to head with the Israelites. The same thing with the black conscious community. Ain't nobody fucking with the black conscious community, and had to do with women within a circuit of the holy places. That's the temple. And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. One of the things was the swine. The altar also was filled with profane things, and the law forbid. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, Passover, Tabernacles, Day of Atonement. You know, you name all them feasts, you can't keep none of them. You got to keep our feasts. Or to profess himself at all to be a what? A Jew. And that's what these small hats are doing by lawyering up. If we say that we're the people, we're anti-Sem. How the hell can we be anti-Sem when we're the people? We are the actual people. That's why they made a big thing some years ago. What was that? 2018, I think it was. Where they had the guy out there in New Jersey shoot up someplace, and those are Israelites. And vocab, you can see the fringes if you beam. That's the only way we be put out in the news in a negative sense. Hey, the same thing with IUIC, with the Joy Morgan incident. Now, I ain't blaming, we get on IUIC, but I'm not blaming IUIC about what happened to that girl, because it wasn't them that did it. There was a guy that was a part of the organization that was out of order. That's why you got to vet these people as best you can. You know? If it was a Roman Catholic guy, are they going to call out all the Roman Catholics? No. Unless you have information that the leader of IUIC said, yes, if your woman doesn't do what you tell her to do, put her to death, then they got you. So he never said that, you know? It says, 7th verse, and in the day of the king's birth, every month, they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices, which was swine. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, which is what's the other name? Bacchus and I can't think of the other name. If I put in Bacchus, the other name will come up. I can't think of the other name. Was kept, were compelled to go in possession to Bacchus, carrying, I believe this is supposed to be ivy. And they were marked with an ivy leaf. That was also the king of Egypt, Ptolemy, whatever Ptolemy was in power, he made them get that ivy leaf on. That's where you get the fraternities. They get that stamp. They become a frat member in college. The name is right on the tip of my tongue. Adonis? Give me a second. Not going to make this long. Okay, so you have restaurants. This is called Bacchus. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me go. Who is? Let's see what comes up. Bacchus is a Roman god of wine, fertility, which is sex, agriculture, and the arts. Right. Dionysus, that was a name. I said Adonis. Dionysus. Roman name for Dionysus. So really the Greeks worshiped Dionysus. And you partied on that day. Bacchus is the Roman name of the Greek god of wine, Dionysus. a son of Jupiter or son of Zeus. And Semele, Bacchus was the son of Jupiter, the chief Roman god. And Semele, or Semele, which is the wife, a mortal princess of Thebes, associated with wild animals. Bacchus was associated with wild animals such as tigers and goats, and was often depicted with vines of grapes. That's when you go out clubbing, that's the spirit of Dionysus or the spirit of Bacchus. So that's what they wanted to put on Israel. Look, you can't keep any of the high holy days. You got to go and worship. You got to dance and party and get drunk and have sex in the name of Bacchus, a.k.a. Dionysus. So now you understand. Let me do this. Or you should understand the whole thing about the Gentiles. That whole argument about the Gentiles, you had Israelites that were forced to follow the ways of the Gentiles. I had a bunch of precepts. I'm not going to go into all of them. I mean, you can go to 1 Maccabees 1 and read that whole chapter. It goes into a lot. You also got 1 Maccabees 2 verse 44. Let's see what that says, and I'm going to close it. 1 Maccabees 1 Maccabees 2 and 44. So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger. Let me see something. That's 1 Maccabees 2:44. 1 Maccabees 2:44. So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger and wicked men. Israelites, Maccabees was doing it. The people that was against this in their wrath, but the rest fled to the heathen for succor, for help, to be taken care of. And it says here, at that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make a battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him. So the Maccabees, Judas Maccabees said, look, you got to fight against these people. If you don't fight against us, we're going to mistake you for one of them. Neither will we die all as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel. The Assyrians were mighty men of Israel. The Lacedaemonians, which were the what do you call that? The Lacedaemonians, which were what's that word? The Sparta. Even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. So they said, we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight, you know? So you were forced to fight, man. Maccabees would kill you if you didn't fight, because your life depended upon it. So you had Israelites that said, nah, man, I'm good getting help from the heathens. I'm going to eat pork. I'm going to not worship the Sabbath, not circumcise my son. Then you had women that would circumcise their son and getting killed, and their sons are getting killed. But this man, all he got to do is call on Jesus, HaMashiach, and he's good. Nah, you ain't good, bitch. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom. So you got to go to that history. You got to go to the Blue Letter. You got to go to the commentary. You got to go to the Apocrypha. Sometimes you got to go into the Josephus. And there's other historical documents that you can filter through the scriptures. With that, I'm going to say shalom.